joining us now is a very special guest to talk a little bit more about the history and the upbringing of King Charles III. Johnny Stonborough is a friend and former classmate, can you believe it, of King Charles. It's wonderful of you to make time for us this morning. Now, earlier in the show, we showed our audience a video about Charles's sort of upbringing, the various schools he went to, because there were many. Tell us a little bit about your experience with him.
Well, he was 13 when he arrived at Gordonstoun, and he got quite badly treated to start with. He was quite badly bullied. I was in the same class as him for, nearly 4 years, and I got to know him a little bit. He was quite withdrawn, quite shy, and one of the main problems was that if you wanted to be friends with him, you then got beaten up yourself.
And
so
it was very much
extraordinary
Prince Philip,
situation.
Was it not Prince Philip who wanted him to go to Gordonstoun?
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
the late Queen was not keen for him to go there.
No.
She felt that he would not thrive at Gordonstoun.
She was right.
And I think she was. Well, you know better than I do. But was he bullied because he was an introvert at that time and obviously unsure of himself as a growing young man? Or was it because he was a member of the royal family?
Well, it's a good question, actually. A bit of both. There was a great deal of kind of institutionalised bullying. There was, pastoral care was something that did not exist in those days, and you just had to get on with it. And then he was also picked on, I think, because, they thought he was a bit stuck up and a toff. But actually, he wasn't stuck up in the slightest. Quite the opposite, in fact.
How do you think being bullied, because it does sound like particularly tough bullying he underwent, and if we watch The Crown, the way it was portrayed in that, whether or not it's totally true to life, you can probably tell us. How do you think it shaped him as a person to have gone through that?
Well, actually, I think in some ways that he came out the other side. I mean, he's not the only person to have been bullied at school, and in fact, I think it's rather wonderful in one way that there will be young people who are experiencing bullying now who will suddenly hear that their own king was being bullied, and he's weathered it and he's got through it. But it was a gruelling experience, I think, the first couple of years for him.
And it's made him stronger.
Yeah.
I think it's turned him into the character he now is. I mean, certainly you mentioned The Crown as well. He talks about the fact he was stuck near the window where he was constantly wet because the boys kept opening it and all that.
Oh, absolutely. Tipped out of bed, shoved in cold showers in a basket.
Yes.
Beaten up in the scrum
and
at
of course,
rugby.
But interestingly, of course, he didn't want his two boys going there, did he? He was adamant.
I didn't send mine either.
Didn't you?
Really?
Because of your experiences?
Yeah, absolutely.
That is interesting to know. Let's talk a little bit about some of the King's strengths, though, in education, because despite this, and I think this is often a hallmark of people who have been bullied or experienced bullying through school, they tend to excel academically in their own fields of interest. And King Charles III, clearly a very accomplished linguist, musician, a man of the arts.
Yes, and also his great love of nature and sustainability and the environment. And some of that comes from his time at Gordonstoun. I mean, in that way, the school was quite positive. It wasn't all negative. But the first couple of years. Right?
I mean, absolutely. We're just seeing pictures now from Westminster Abbey of Anton Dec there sitting in Westminster Abbey. I mean, just what do you make of the shall we say eclectic mix of the congregation? There are people representing all walks of life. You've got celebrities there. And then at the same time, you've got politicians, former prime ministers and so on. We also know that the ceremony is far pared down, so 2,000 people there, not the 8,000 that the late Queen had at hers.
No, I remember it.
Yeah.
I sat and watched that little black and white television. In fact, we've got people coming to join us today to watch it. The only thing that's different is that the telly's a bit bigger.
A lot bigger.
And it's colour.
Where did you watch it on your set, your television set?
At home. No, my dad got a telly, a little tiny thing, sort of fuzzy black and white stuff. We invited all the neighbours in, and we watched it.
Well,
I remember it well. I was about 5.
Well, you were very smart to have a television because many people didn't have them, did they? In 53?
No, it's quite an event.
It was an event.
Yeah.
And so just in terms of looking at that coronation, and obviously we're now living in a completely different world, aren't we? The fact is now the Commonwealth has got bigger. That was a triumph of the late Queen, I think. 54 or so countries in the Commonwealth, a third of the world's population. How do you think this is going to be viewed around the world by those countries where the King is head of state, 14 other countries, but also the Commonwealth itself? Well,
I'm absolutely amazed by the reaction around the world because, I mean, even I, just, having been at school with him all those years ago, 60 years ago, I've been getting inquiries from all over the place, literally from Japan, from the United States, from Germany, from India, I don't know, you name it. And people are absolutely riveted by that.
And are you still in touch?
Yeah. No, not no. I don't want to claim that. No, we're not. Last time I saw him, he said I'd put on weight and lost a lot of hair.
Did you come back with an equally good response, though?
I didn't, actually. I just smiled.
As we brought you in to talk about King Charles's time at school and your shared classmate time at Gordonstoun, I want to ask you a little bit about the schooling that then Harry and William got. You talked about not sending your own children to Gordonstoun. What did you think about the choices of education for them?
Well, I mean, they went to Eton. Prince Andrew, of course, went to Gordonstoun. Princess Anne went to a school called Benenden. I mean, none of them really benefited educationally so much, I don't think, from being at those schools. Obviously, Prince William, Prince of Wales, went into the services and continued his education after that.
I mean, actually, the king, and I didn't know this, studied anthropology. He also studied archaeology. Again, that would explain why he's so interested in that. And he's the first monarch with a degree.
Yes.
And no one, I don't think people know that, actually. So he's not a stupid man.
Oh, he wasn't stupid, not in the slightest. He was just unhappy, but definitely not stupid. No. And he was quite artistic, played the cello.
Yes, a number of instruments, I believe.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We are continuing to bring you live pictures, and look at this, just absolutely fantastic. Soldiers making their way, and we've seen pictures of faces in the crowd in Westminster Abbey as well. We've had Lionel Richie sitting in the crowd. We just saw him, and just all these soldiers coming in. And have you felt an atmosphere, do you think, this week when you've been in London and around doing these types of interviews of mostly jubilation? We have had an arrest this morning of a Republic protester. Do you think that there is a groundswell of support for King Charles?
Yes, I do. You know, when the Queen died, I think everybody held their breath a little bit and thought, what's he going to be like? You know, and there was all these sort of family dramas going on, and how was he going to deal with it? And actually, I think he and the Queen, our new Queen, been doing a cracking job. Seriously.
I mean, I think he's growing.
I'm not just saying that.
No.
But he's growing into it, isn't he? I very much get the sense of a man at ease. Obviously, you've obviously got William and Harry, and I'm very pleased that Harry is coming back. I mean, as we see here, the pictures looking down the Mall. If you don't know London particularly well, the geography, that is from Admiralty Arch down towards Buckingham Palace, the Mall, bedecked with Union flags. Also, I believe flags of the Commonwealth, which are certainly starting to appear there. I mean, it's glorious.
It's absolutely glorious. It's London in all of its finest. And I think you brought up a really good point, Jonathan, talking about the sort of a series of events that have got us to this point. Of course, we had the very tragic passing of the late Queen last year, 10 days of national mourning. Prior to that, we'd had jubilees. It's almost been sort of back-to-back, a reminder of this country's monarchy.
Yeah. And what is it, the 40th monarch in Westminster Abbey?
Yes.
1,000 years.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Since 1066.
Yeah.
I mean, so a little bit of trivia for you. The reason it's called Westminster is it was the minster in the west to make it different to the Eastminster, which is St Paul's.
You've
You've
always got the trivia, Dr. David, but I have got the breaking news to bring you now. In my ear, I'm just hearing that Just Stop Oil protesters have been detained, arrested, I believe. They were on the Mall. Wow. This is the information that's just been fed into me, and I'm just reporting it back to you. But of course, we are keeping a close eye across the action that is taking place throughout central London. We've already had the leader of Republic being arrested this morning for unloading a van full of flags. And now just this news about Just Stop Oil. Oliver Whitfield-Mielchich, our correspondent down there on the Mall, was just talking to us about people being stopped for having glue. It's this whole idea of sort of gluing yourself to streets now that's sort of taken hold.
I do wonder how this will play out with the public, actually. I think the public will be generally in favour.
In favour of the protest?
No, in favour of the police cracking down, don't you?
Absolutely.
And time will tell.